Welcome to a Trekzone conversation. Matt Miller with you in Studio 4. I'm so excited to have these guys back to discuss all things First Contact Day. So many juicy tidbits got released. Bill and Dan, I was going to call him Dave for some reason, from the Trek Geeks on the other side of this.
On Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and YouTube for over 550 episodes. This is a Trekzone conversation.
And I know where I'm getting confused. It's because I like to call you Bill and Ben the Flower Pot Men. That still confuses you, I'm sure. It's an Aussie anachronism. How are you, gentlemen?
Doing great, man. How are you doing?
It's good to see you, man. I'm doing great. Good to be here, and it's always good to see you, man.
It absolutely is. You two gentlemen are looking fine. We caught up once during the pandemic, I think it was, but not too much. Glad to see that the America is still there. At least the sensible ones are still hanging around.
Yeah, I can say
well,
that.
you know, it's touch and go any given day, right?
Hey, First Contact Day yesterday, a couple of days ago for us Aussies on the better side of the planet, but panels, Paramount Plus got these panels together. We have so much to get through on this podcast. Let's start it off with Picard Season 2. Bill, your first reactions to that teaser trailer?
I thought the teaser trailer was interesting. I looked at some of the other visuals. There's the copy of Paradise Lost. There's obviously the chessboard. There's the Queen of Hearts. And then, of course, it evaporates into the Q. And by the time you hear Q's voice, there's that realization, oh, my God, they got John Delancey. So I guess that's really the big takeaway. We knew that Whoopi Goldberg was likely going to be a part of season 2 based on Sir Patrick Stewart's invite. But now to hear that John Delancey is on board is kind of amazing. I wonder where they're going to take it, because I thought the Q story had been bookended pretty well in Next Gen.
It is interesting. You guys ran a poll on the Trek Geeks Twitter with asking people whether they were excited for the return of John Delancey. 88.4% said yes to 11.6% no. Bill, I know you had not too excited about it. Dan, what are your thoughts on Q coming back for a second season? Another fan favorite character, if you will.
I do agree that I thought they bookended him rather well in TNG, but I got to say, I've got a whole new appreciation for John Delancey. I'm on my 4th rewatch of Breaking Bad right now, and even though he has a small role in that series, I just love what he brings to the table. So I'm actually looking forward to this. It'll be interesting to see how they bring him in. During the panel, when he was podcasting from his yacht, which was kind of cool in itself. He did talk about, and Sir Patrick talked about how something really, really bad happens with Picard, and he's in a bad place, and when Q shows up. So I think it's going to be interesting to see what they do with it. I hope it's not just fan service. I'm sure that they're going to do a great job writing a story that is worthy of John Delancey and Q.
Guys, do you think that bringing another character back from the past is the way forward for Picard?
I don't think it's a misstep. I think that that's the expectation of a lot of people watching Picard. So many people, even though they said it wasn't going to be the 8th season of Next Gen, thought it was going to be the 8th season of Next Gen. And when people like Geordi and Worf and Beverly Crusher didn't show up, they were pretty upset. And in fact, people are still upset that there's no mention of Gates McFadden anywhere near Picard. So I think they have to do some of this, because I think, hearkening back to TNG's tapestry, I think that it is part of the tapestry of who Jean-Luc Picard is. And I think it makes sense. I'm a little surprised that they went in that direction, but I guess we'll have to see what happens.
It is going to be very interesting to see how this one plays out. We have Guinan coming back as well as Q. Riker, I believe, is also going to be there. Dan, what are your hopes? Looking at that teaser as well, what are your hopes for the second season, and what kind of things have we gleaned from what we saw in Picard's chateau?
Well, one of the things that I liked was all the Easter eggs, the Mintakan tapestry and the plow, the horse with the plow, which was seen in the episode Brothers. They brought that back. I love how they brought those Easter eggs in. And I think that they can have a story that moves forward while still bringing in familiar things that we all love as Star Trek fans, like Seven and Hugh and the Borg a cube and all those things. So I have no doubt that the writers with season 2 are going to do something similar. It's going to be a forward progressing story, which is going to tell more in the life of Picard. But the fact that we're still going to bring these familiars back into the mix, I think will only add to what we all enjoyed what I thought was a fantastic season 1 of Picard.
The next thing that we got to see on First Contact Day was a teaser for Lower Decks Season 2, Mike McMahon's awesome homage to Star Trek. It's probably the best fan film I've ever seen. Stuff that is being brought in, the second animated series in the Star Trek franchise. Bill, your thoughts on what we were seeing? Let's get to Boimler in a second, but what's happening on the Cerritos? I think moving that story forward, we were wondering how that was going to happen with Boimler, our main character, leaving.
I think it's safe to say that there's some stuff going down on the Cerritos. We got lots of great visuals. You want to talk about fan service. Lower Decks does it in such an amazing way. I mean, you saw Magatu, among other things. I know we see Mariner in the brig at some point while Rutherford and Tendi are talking to her, saying, "Hey, I wish Boimler was here." I'm excited that not only are we getting season 2, but we're getting it in August. Because I think that's going to be the first and possibly only new Trek we got in the latter half of 2021.
It's really proven itself. The animated series have really proven themselves through this pandemic to get us through. Obviously, Paramount had that, or Viacom CBS had that idea to have Trek wall to wall across the year. Unfortunately, the pandemic really put the scratching brakes on that, but they're getting close to it. And with Lower Decks, Dan Boimler, let's talk about him off with Riker on the Titan. Very interesting.
Very interesting to see him. He looks like he has not changed a bit since we saw him at the end of season 1. I got to tell you what, Jonathan Frakes is the busiest man in the Star Trek universe these days, with directing and guest starring in Picard and now voicing for Riker as captain of the Titan. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Boimler. It'll also be very interesting to see if the group gets back together again. I think we all anticipate that will happen, but I'm sure Boimler's in for a fun ride with Captain Riker leading the way on the Titan.
Bill, do you think the gang should get back together?
Absolutely. I think they have to. I think that the series doesn't work unless the 4 of them are together, especially Boimler and Mariner, because they really sort of feed off each other very well. I think it may take a couple of episodes to get Boimler back. I think maybe the Cerritos in turn will rescue the Titan. I think that would be a great trade-off and a great way to get Boimler back on board. But I think it has to happen.
Just on the Cerritos rescuing the Titan, let's flip that with the season 1 finale. How awesome was that? To have that come in, save the day, and have that theme music play. Just absolutely brilliant. Mike is doing an amazing job on Lower Decks.
I have said several times on Trek Geeks and Discovering Trek that I think season 1 of Lower Decks may have been the best season 1 of any Star Trek series we've ever seen in its 50 plus years of being on television. And the finale was right up there with one of the best. It was fantastic. It was unexpected to see the Pakleds as the bad guy. It was unexpected to see the Titan come in with that amazing music and Riker and Troy and everything that happened. I will be very interested to see what happens with Rutherford and his cybernetics, because if you remember, Shaxx ripped it out, may the prophets guide him. And it looked in the trailer that he had his cybernetics back. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes and how his memory comes along.
And if there's one thing that we can be guaranteed, it's that Mike McMahon knows exactly what he's doing. He knows exactly where he's slotting this in to the franchise. It is incredible to watch. And for something that is geared towards kids, not necessarily the rest of the franchise, I think it really has done for Star Trek what the Clone Wars did for Star Wars. Let's move on to the next thing. There was so much happening. Discovery Season 4. I was out taking the dog to daycare. Yes, my dog goes to daycare. I freely admit that. It is very good for her because she comes home and she sleeps. But I missed the Discovery Season 4 trailer as they premiered it. I did catch it later on. New uniforms, new missions, and plenty of stuff going on in that trailer. Dan, let's throw it to you and get your first thoughts.
Yeah, I was really surprised to see the new uniforms. I was one of the people that really liked what we saw at the finale of season 3 with the grays, with the subtle colors, and this kind of like exploded in front of my TV, in front of my PC monitor with these new colors. Now, I'm used to seeing these really bright primaries with TOS, but it really threw me for a loop in the trailer. I think it'll be interesting to see it, and I'm sure I'll get used to it really quick. But yeah, it looks like Discovery is not in for any type of relaxing mission to start off season 4 with a 5 light year long issue that is going to cause a whole bunch of problems.
Do you think it's another little bit of too big of a problem for the series? It just seems to be each season there's a new big bad going on, whether it's a scientific thing or whether it's a big enemy. Do you think maybe Discovery should be settling down for some missions of the week, or leave that for Strange New Worlds, Bill?
I think that's going to be left primarily for Strange New Worlds. I do worry that Discovery is going to go so far that they can't top themselves year after year. The burn was gargantuan, and it didn't necessarily work out the way I had hoped or others had hoped. I did like that there wasn't a big bad at the center of the burn, but it tells me that this season with this anomaly or whatever it is, maybe there is a big bad at the center of that. And because they have to change it up, or else it's going to seem like they did the same thing year after year.
Yeah, exactly right. Well, interesting times ahead. We also got some hints of species coming back together. We saw a lot of the fracturing of the Federation in season 3. Looks like a lot of people are getting back together, getting the band back together, as it were, for season 4. So we might have a bit of that, working out exactly what this scientific anomaly is, and reunifying the Federation.
Bring back the Vulcans. Let them known as the Vulcans again. So I know that all the execs at CBS watch your show, Matt. So bring back the Vulcans, guys.
Absolutely. Well, we should say a very big g'day to John Van Sitters. I know he sits down and absolutely chomps at the bit for every new Trekzone release. We love John.
Why wouldn't he? Quite frankly,
he never replies to me on Twitter, but we'll get onto that later off air.
Who's this? No,
exactly.
I think we will get to see the surface of Navarre, which is one of the real criticisms that we had for season 3 of Star Trek Discovery. If you're going to go all the way to Vulcan, you got to visit Vulcan. If you don't, it's really a wasted opportunity, especially since Michael Burnham was raised there. So I think they're going to correct that in season 4 based on some of the footage in the trailer. We'll see.
It is going to be very interesting. And the last thing, guys, we are flying through this. We are doing really, really well, sticking to the Trekzone mantra of 10 to 15 minutes. Convention news. The first time that we ever met each other was before the world shut down. That's a coincidence, I'm sure. Vegas 2019. And conventions are back. Creations lost the license and it's moved over to ReedPop now. This is very interesting. Bill, your thoughts on ReedPop taking over official Star Trek convention duties?
I think it's good overall. ReedPop has a great reputation, although they are considerably at times more expensive than Creation as far as their ticket packages and their events. But I mean, this is the company that puts on Star Wars Celebration every year and a lot of other hugely successful conventions. They know what they're doing, and I think that they're going to come up with a program and a slate of events that is worthy of next First Contact Day, to be honest.
Dan, very interesting that it's all centering around these anniversary days in Star Trek. We had Captain Picard Day, Star Trek Day, and now First Contact Day. Seems that Paramount Plus might have settled on a day to have these celebrations.
I think it's kind of interesting. And if they kind of float them around at different times during the year, we already know that they're going to float them around to different cities every year. So maybe they will choose these different dates in Star Trek history to have a celebration. I actually kind of think it's kind of good to have them in different cities. I don't know if it would be such a good idea, now that I think of it, to have them on different dates, because let's see, we're going to have one convention in 2021 at this date, and then the next date they're going to celebrate is only like 3 months later, so that might not work out too well. But I do like the idea of them rotating to different cities, because let's be honest, not everybody can get across the country or across the world, in your case, every year to Vegas. So maybe if they move them to the East Coast one year and then the West Coast and then centralize it, I think that could have the potential of bringing more fans in to gather together and celebrate Star Trek, which is really what we want to do.
Now, we were conventionless last year. How are you guys feeling? Because I know that you head over very regularly, or were heading over very regularly to Vegas. What was it like last year to be locked down and miss out on interacting with everybody?
I'll go first if you
awful.
don't mind, Dan. Yeah,
Yeah, go
that's
ahead,
exactly what it was. It was awful. Usually Star Trek Las Vegas kind of re-energized and refueled my fandom every year. I'd get there and I'd be so excited to see everybody, and I'd come out of there with a renewed sense of purpose, not just in as a Star Trek fan, but in podcasting and in content creation, and just in seeing this wonderful group of people every single year. And last year we didn't have that, and it was rough. It was like being in the desert. I look forward to the next convention in August, which is not an official Star Trek convention, simply so I can see my Star Trek family again.
Dan, what do you think about conventions, missing out on them? You I guess, taken for granted a little bit when they're there, and they're there so often that when they disappear, something's missing from your life.
I didn't expect it to hit me the way it did, especially with this year's STLV, and not only for me. I think it was really too bad with what happened with the pandemic last year, that all of the conventions and all the celebrations that were planned for Voyager's anniversary kind of went away. And so I think all of that love for Voyager that we would have seen in person, we only got to see virtually, and I think that was a shame. So not only for me and Bill and the rest of our Star Trek friends and family that we love getting together with, I think the cast and the people that created these shows suffered a great deal as well. And I'm really looking forward to being able to get together and celebrate again. And like Bill said, being able to get together with the friends that we've made over the course of the years that we've been going to Vegas is really something I'm looking forward to doing again this year, even if it's not an official Trek convention.
One extra question that I wanted to throw out, just thinking about all of this, the Voyager celebrations, do you think that missing out on those at a convention helped spur 455 Films on to get as much money as they did for their doco in retrospective of Voyager?
I think absolutely so.
Yeah, I think it only added, the fact that everybody's home and maybe rewatching Voyager or watching it for the first time and really getting a deep love and appreciation for it. I think that only helped the production team raise that amazing amount of money, and I can't wait to see what they come out with that documentary.
It is going to be absolutely fantastic. And one last thought on conventions from my perspective. Very interesting that ReedPop has been given the license for conventions, because they obviously run Oz Comic Con here in Australia, and hopefully through their worldwide operation, that means that we can get a few more Trek guests out to Australia when international borders start opening up and all those sort of things as well. Just really bringing those fans and those stars out, because there seems to be a really big lack of current celebrities in the Star Trek universe visiting Australia, pandemic aside, of course.
Yeah, I'd say that it's with Star Trek being so global, I think it's a necessity. I think they have to get, especially the current slate of shows, into more conventions around the world, because I think that's ultimately how they're going to grow Paramount Plus. I think maybe over time the license may come away from Netflix and Amazon to stream some of these shows, because they're going to want to bring it in house, I would imagine. And what better way to do that than to get these people out there in front of fans and to raise the awareness of the show? The more successful it is, the more we get more Star Trek. So that's good for everybody.
Absolutely. Well, Bill, Dan, I really appreciate your time today, gentlemen, talking about First Contact Day. We've learnt so much. Out of it all, Bill, let's start with you. What is the number one thing that you're looking forward to out of everything we learnt yesterday?
We didn't really cover it, but Star Trek Prodigy.
Of course.
I was right.
I knew there was
right on the Janeway.
Yes,
I knew Janeway was going to be a hologram. I said it day one. People made fun of me, so they're people. No, I'm looking forward to that. I think it's
you, Dan. It was you, wasn't it?
It was.
I'm always making fun of him.
It's going to be such a great extension of the Star Trek universe.
Yeah, I have to concur. I'm really looking forward to Prodigy, and that first glimpse that we saw of Captain Janeway in animated form was awesome. I just can't wait to see it. I can't wait to hear her voice again. But I gotta say, I'm very excited for Picard season 2, just with that little teaser that we got. So I think that's a 1A and 1B for me.
Absolutely. Well, let's just very quickly touch on Prodigy with Janeway the hologram. Bill, you were right. Yes, all right, fine. But we got a setting and we got a time as well. 2383 in the Delta Quadrant with these this motley crew finding a derelict Federation starship. This is a very interesting plotline and something completely left field.
It is. I think that it's going to be maybe not the Voyager itself, but maybe some derelict ship that was a part of Voyager, maybe the Arrow shuttle that some people have theorized. But one of the things I want to point out about the Janeway hologram is that she doesn't have captain's pips on. I found that very interesting. I wonder if that was a deliberate choice or a mistake in the art. But I wonder if because it's a hologram and a training hologram at that they've removed the pips on purpose. I'm interested to see that aspect alone to see how they explain it. Dan, your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I think that it's great to put it in the time frame that they did so that there won't be any question as, well, she was Admiral in Nemesis and what's going on with that. It will be interesting to see how she is the hologram on this derelict Starfleet ship that is still in the Delta Quadrant. Makes me kind of wonder how many ships were there, because we seem to run into Federation ships over there all the time during Voyager's run. And then how whomever designed to engineer a training hologram after Janeway. I think it's going to be really great to see. And I'm really looking forward to how they are going to try to bring young viewers into this universe. So I'm really looking forward to what they're doing with this one.
Yeah, I think for me, just answering my own question about what I'm most excited about, I'm looking forward to everything, but I think specifically Prodigy. That's the one that's really piqued my interest the most. So going to be interesting to see, and it's all coming up really, really soon. Dan and Bill, the Trek Geeks, I really appreciate your time today, gentlemen, and we should get you back on Trekzone a little bit more often than I do.
Thanks so much, Matt. We appreciate it.
Oh, it's good to see you, Matt.
Keep up to date with Twitter. Catch new podcasts daily on YouTube. Plus, we're beaming to your favorite podcast app 5 days a week. Just search for Trekzone and subscribe.